Today is Saturday, April 12th, 2025. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the listener feedback show for Survivor 48, Week 7.
So do we have any business stuff we need to cover before we start? We had business stuff on the recap because of this double elimination and all that stuff.
Nothing that I'm going to... I'll give the JSFL update at the end.
Okay.
And, you know, who chose what new USB, that kind of information.
To break down.
But no, I'm not doing it right now because I want to know what everybody thought about the episode.
Me too. How many do we have?
24.
24 super fans checking in this week for the big double elimination, week 7, and first on jury too. So all the excitement, or maybe not so much, just depends on how it hits you. So let's check in with the super fans and find out what they thought about this one. First up, we got a call from Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling. Man, what a solid double boot episode of two separate teams. To me, the highlight was that immunity challenge because I feel like I got a little bit fooled with the way the edit was with the photos. But I'm going to let out a great big And man, guys, I gotta say, epic immunity challenge by two strong men, Superman Joe and the goofball that knows nothing about Survivor, Dave, who he even said in his interview a while back, he only recently watched Survivor. I was glad Joe got immunity. Dave ended up getting the big immunity because his team ended up going last for the jury, and they got those cheap PB&J sandwiches, whoop-de-doo, and that was, of course, Cedric's tribal. I thought Say was going to make it deep in the game. Not that Say was going to win, but I think her threat status, her being untrustworthy, going way back to the crappy Voodoo days, finally caught up with her, and ultimately, if I had to choose between her and Mitch, I'm glad it was her. I mean, I'm glad because I think she would have offered a lot, but hey, it was better too she wasn't on the jury, because clearly Chrissy and Mitch and Joey, they saw much of a threat she would have been on the jury, and then the persuasion she would have had. So that was smart on their part. I'm glad Mitch stayed. Hopefully he gets food in the future. He wins even one reward, because I don't know if there's going to be any auction, because we saw it last season. On the other side, man, bummer. But I'm, again, glad Cedric went home in one sense, because what did he offer in the game other than just being maybe, I don't know, a vote? And Cedric say 20 seconds. That was kind of rough to watch for sure. Then again, Star got out quick too. He'll be on the jury, and I don't think he'll be bitter. But I'll say he really believed Shahin was going to go. I honestly think the smarter move, even Chrissy said it, was talking with Say before it went to tribal with that other team. That would have been the smarter vote, because Shahin is a strategic player. He's a mastermind, a flip-flopper, a storyteller. I think they're going to regret keeping him. Dave saw it. Camille and Kyle saw it. Look now. Kyle got the better of him when they got rid of Thomas when he played the idol before the swap with Voodoo. I think they're going to regret it keeping Shahin. He could make it deep, and even though he's with strong guys, I could see him get rid of the Davids, the Kyles or Camellas, even Joe or Eva, if we're in the final stage of the game now, Cedric is on the jury, but it looks like we are going to get maybe a strong play to win. Could be Eva, you got Joe, but their threat, Dave. Dave is a goofball, a douche, so I don't see Dave winning. It should be great next week. I'm hoping it's Dave, but I don't know. That's probably a misdirect the next time on. All right, guys, take care. Woo.
Whoa, thanks, Pete. Yeah, I think we got spared some epic eye rolls there when Say did not make the jury. So that was part of what she was talking about in her exit interview, what she would have brought to the whole thing. That, and she said, basically be unrelentlessly challenging to whoever the final three were.
Yeah, but, when somebody goes into with that kind of set plan, it's not the spontaneous emotion from in the moment. That's what I like to see.
Yes.
It's planned out, and I'm going to do this, or no matter what happens.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't care for that myself.
Yep. Me neither. We'll be talking some more about that. A lot of folks had something to say, I think, about Say.
Okay.
And her exit. Thanks, Pete. Next up, we got an email from Erin in Canada.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. A good episode with lots to cover and 2 vote outs. As for the people who were voted out, it was a little underwhelming as it wasn't anyone that was strategic threats. I kind of think that Say would have been hilarious to watch on the jury.
There you go.
But with all the facial expressions, but it's probably for the best. Milk is getting so much press this season as the 2 milk guys went head to head to win. I have a brag to make. My family consumes more milk than those 2 combined.
Oh my goodness.
As we own a coffee shop and have 3 little ones, including twins.
Wow.
So a gallon a day is nothing. We get it by the truckload. So my thought, Erin, was, how does she have time to do feedback?
Yes.
Good job, Erin.
We're so thankful that you squeezed that in.
Yeah. Shahin, Kyle, Camilla, and Mitch are the 4 people whom I believe have a chance to win. The others, I believe, will go eventually. I really enjoyed Chrissy speaking up, and I don't disagree with her. However, she could get voted out if she doesn't rally the troops of underdogs to vote with her. I hope it isn't a clean sweep, because that is never fun to watch. So I'm secretly hoping one of the strong leaves next time. Perhaps David? Next time on Survivor, it looks like Eva and Joe will be safe as all the heat appears to be on David and Camilla. Do you think Chrissy will be successful in taking out the head eventually? Be healthy, happy, and safe. All right, you too, Erin, and thank you.
I think they've got to move this week. It seems to me like this week is the time to start.
Yeah, because they're going to have to establish a majority.
Clear majority,
clear majority
that can hold.
If they can, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's some seasons, it's been so flip-floppy that they're not voting as a group. They're doing okay, this is what we're doing this week. Well, I'll vote with you this week. Well, I'm not voting for you this week. I'll vote with somebody else, because then they just flop around, and that's really hard to judge when they play that way. So I don't think we really know which way this group's going to go.
This is where the test actually starts.
Yeah.
You've got the merge, and it's the goofiness that happens, and then you get the double elimination where they split that down to small, and so now we get back to where the game actually is really going to kick into gear, and you're going to see lines, and those things have to be tested. I think we're past the easy votes. I think that's the case. Not 100% sure, but I think things get real tricky from here on.
Well, here's the difference I see. You've got the people this season wanting to play the honest. You got David, you got Eva, you got Joe. Maybe Mitch if they brought him in.
Yeah, but they haven't. So that tells you that they're already tending towards hypocrites.
Here's the thing. You have more people, Chrissy, Camilla, Kyle, Mary, Shahin. I mean, those guys are all that, and Star's kind of
we've seen
things.
We've seen Star talking with Chrissy about taking out the strong, not wanting to go that direction.
Yeah, but then she's also been invested in Eva, who wants to play honest. And so, but anyway, well, my point being, there's a lot more people that don't want to play the honesty and integrity.
That aren't included.
This is Survivor.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Although the
That's
first
what
thing that we'll see in the upcoming episode, because they've already released the sneak peek, they've let that out early this week, is Chrissy backpedaling. She's trying to do some damage control when they come back from tribal council about saying, well, I don't really want to play Joe's game. Joe's game is a losing game for me. That's what she said at tribal council.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, well, that was just stupidity. It's
Well, she said it was just smack talk. You know, I didn't mean it. Right, Joe?
Yeah, well, you said there weren't any more easy votes, but I think they think Mitch is an easy vote.
Not if you need Mitch for a majority.
Well, yeah,
he's not.
That's what I mean.
And
the three
Mitch is part of the original SIVA.
Yeah.
You could potentially build something there.
True.
You only need one more to control the vote.
But does Kyle and Camilla want to work with Chrissy? And
David.
I think they would work with Mitch.
Given what they showed us on Next Time on Survivor.
Well, I don't know that they don't really. If they think they have one other person, they don't really need David, right? They can afford to get, if they brought in
Well, how are you counting?
Mitch, Camilla, Kyle, and Chrissy as 4. They only need one other person. Mary, Star, Mitch.
Need a majority, right?
Or
they need 6.
A majority. They need 6. Well, Mary and Star then. And then they could get rid of David, get rid of Eva, get rid of Joe. Now, I don't know where Shahin would fit in there, but I would think they might want to keep him around a little while if they think he's a lesser threat then. But if Shahin gets wind of somebody's trying to take control, he's going to target him.
Yeah, you don't leave Shahin on the board.
Oh, no.
Shahin's a much bigger threat than Joe or David.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I see him as one of the major threats.
Erin, you sidelined us with your question.
If he has the numbers. Oh, sorry. That's right. We got off on it. We're sitting here looking at the roster.
Thanks, Erin. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Robert. We'll come back. We'll wrap up at the end.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor fans. This is Robert from Canada calling in. I'm going to keep my feedback pretty short this week because I did not love this episode, unfortunately. First, I'm mad at myself because I had Say, and yes, Stacy, I said Say this time and not Cy.
Yes.
And Cedric going home until later on Wednesday when I thought, why would they get rid of Cedric? Because unlike Say, he's fairly likable. And he also has no chance of winning immunity. He's a perfect GOAT, so I invented a wild scenario in my head where Kyle goes home, but I'll spare you guys the details on that. I did enjoy the immunity challenge this week. I liked the bucket challenge, and it brought back lots of memories from previous seasons, especially Charlie winning it. And it was cool to see the record break, but I could have done without the Shahin montage and Jeff breaking the fourth wall. This episode to me just felt weirdly edited. Certain players like Mary and Star were almost invisible. I think maybe if it was a 2-hour episode, it would have been more enjoyable, possibly. I wish I would have dropped Shahin as my USB this week. I was planning on doing that, and I sort of just ran out of time. I think I'd be a lot happier if I had Camilla as my USB. Shahin's game is just looking worse each episode, I feel like. He still has time to turn it around, but it's not looking great. And he thinks he's the one driving the game, but to me, he's in the backseat of the car without a seatbelt on. As far as my predictions for next week, I don't see the Strong Alliance sticking around. I think we'll start to see it fracture apart. I think David has a big ego, and I think that we'll see the big alliance possibly split apart into smaller voting blocks. I think David might find himself in some trouble next week, although in the individual game, any challenge that's based on strength and not puzzle solving or finesse, I give him pretty good odds of winning. So anyway, that's it for me, and I look forward to hearing all the other fans' feedback. You guys just take care.
Awesome. Well, I see the source of your disappointment there in those voting choices. Good job. Thanks, Robert. Next up, we got an email from Tara in New York. Hi, Joanna, Stacy, Survivor friends. I'm back home after a fantastic trip to Boston for the Rob Has a Podcast live show.
All right.
It was so much fun and almost surreal to watch the show with a bunch of players in the same small theater.
Yep, it is.
We had a long walk to get to the theater after dinner and didn't arrive until close to showtime. Ironically, it turned out to be great timing. Almost immediately, Gabe from 47 and Mary appeared right next to us and were nice enough to snap a quick picture. A minute later, a giant group of recent players, including Kyle and Camilla, arrived and were rushed through to get inside. It was so cool. Watching the show with the crowd was so much fun, too. For once, the challenge was probably my favorite part of the episode. With Mary in the audience, everyone went nuts when she just shook her head after Cedric dropped in 20 seconds. Shahin's music score and all the smack talk were big hits, too. Later, there were mixed boos and cheers. Say was voted out, but not so much with Cedric. As far as my opinion on the episode itself, it was great as always, but a little predictable. We've had 2 straight weeks of safe gameplay, so I wish the show would move these double vote outs to a different part of the season. Last week, everyone just wanted to make the merge, and after this week, they were all just trying to make it through to the jury. These small groups piled onto a double elimination are scary, and I think we would have seen more dynamic gameplay if they were allowed to just play normally. David and his strong alliance caught a break with these safe votes too. I'm crossing my fingers that we'll see a shakeup next week once everyone is actually merged with a normal vote. Yay, amen. After meeting them, I'll especially be cheering for Mary, Kyle, and Camilla. I hope they can start to break this strong bunch apart. Unfortunately, I was so caught up that I completely forgot to pick a new USB or make my picks this week. I probably would have picked Shahin, but at least now I can cheer for anyone with no worries about my USB. I'd love to see any of these 3 bring home a win because they were so nice. Mary is hilarious in person, too. I'm thinking David might be in trouble next week if the strong alliance is targeted, but I could also see Joe or Eva in the crosshairs as well. I'd love to see a good blindside next week, so fingers crossed. I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. As always, thanks so much for all you do, Joanne and Stacy. Thank you, Tara. Fantastic reporting from the Rob Has a Podcast show.
And thanks for the photo share.
Yeah. Next up, we got a call from Rebecca.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Rebecca calling from Oahu with my feedback. I have these little cutouts of everybody's faces on a piece of paper in front of me. Okay, so I got the Strong Alliance, Eva, Joe, Shahin, Kyle, and David. And then right underneath Kyle, I've got Kamala, his secret alliance. And then I've got these 4 floaters, Chrissy, Mary, Star, and Mitch, who I'm just not sure where they're going to fit into this puzzle. But all I have to say is, great episode, great double elimination, and I bit it so hard in JSFL. I had Cedric safe because I just didn't think Cedric was going to get voted out. I had Psy. And it literally at 15 minutes before JFSL closed, I changed it from Psy and I changed it to Kyle and Chrissy. I just thought maybe they would go for Chrissy because I don't know. I just thought maybe, but I thought Kyle because it might be the week where Kyle and Kamala get found out for their secret alliance and one of them has to go. Sort of like with Sierra and Sam when it was going to be one of them. Oh, we got to break those 2 up. But that did not come to pass. I had a 3-point week. I believe my fallings have plummeted in JSFL. What to do. I actually thought my USB Shahin was in trouble for a little bit when David seemed to be considering to vote out the guy from his strong alliance. I mean, I think that was just editing and he never really considered it, but I was a little scared for a little bit. To David, David, sit down and shut up. I hated watching David in the challenge. He was so postured and like, oh, look at my muscles. Oh, I can do it with one hand. The difference between him and Joe in that challenge was hysterical. That Joe is just concentrating, come on, Eva, you can do it. Don't give up. Taking turns, resting one arm, resting the other arm, being totally focused. And then we've got David posing like he's in GQ magazine. I hope David is the first one voted out of the Strong Alliance. I really do. For who's going to be voted out next? Oh, who knows? I hope this five can stay strong. I admire Kamala for how she can really mess with people. I mean, she is a little mastermind in the background. But if they figure out this Kamala Kyle alliance, one of them's going to be cut fast. And as for the other four, Chrissy, Mary, Star, and Mitch, I feel like they might be more on the chopping block, and perhaps one of them is going to go sooner than later because they're just kind of floating out there. Oh, that's why I thought Chrissy might go, because she's just kind of floating out there. Anyway, who knows? Who knows what will happen next? So this is Rebecca calling from Oahu, quickly plummeting down to the basement like an elevator on a speed dial. I don't think that makes sense. Bad analogy. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for everything. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good job. Next up, did you have something?
I was just no. We'll get started again. I'll
It's okay if it's short.
Well, I was just thinking that if they were playing things really smart, they would maybe go after, because I see a lot of people who would be on board to go after Eva with the idol. Mm-hmm. And make her a target so that she'll play it, but then vote David or Joe out instead. Mm-hmm. Well, probably David, because if they say Joe, they know Eva would probably play it for him. So.
Right.
And then just surprise David. So
yeah, because who needs that in individual challenges?
What? Yeah.
I said because who needs that, as in David,
yeah, exactly.
in individual physical challenges?
Yeah, David or Joe, or even Eva. Could probably beat a lot of the others. But okay, anyway, that was just my thought. Move along. Let's see what Ryan has to say.
Hey, Joanna Stacy, this is Ryan from Central Iowa. Before I get into this week's episode, I want to go back just a few weeks when the episode with Shahin and Thomas going through Kyle's bag. It just, to me, that is just really, really bad move. It's a scumbag move to me. I despise it. I remember the first time it happened was, I think it was the season when Earl won, and Young Man had an idol and left in his bag, and two of the tribe mates went through his bag and tried to frame him and tried to hold him ransom. Ever since then, every time somebody does that, going through someone else's bag, it just really, really bothers me. You know, these Survivor contestants don't get much privacy on the show, and so I feel like that's the one place where they should have privacy. I know it's not a rule against it, but it feels like that should be an unspoken rule. I was getting to this episode. Good episode, not great. My USB Mitch is safe for one more week, but that kind of was really nerve-wracking, hoping that he made it through tribal council. I think it was a great play for him to play his advantage, even though it ended up not mattering, but it did because it blocked Say from playing her shot in the dark. Yeah. Say continues to show how much little self-awareness she has. Beginning of the episode, Mitch comes back from tribal council with his Say, and Mitch did Survival 101. You learn to reset. You learn to get better. Don't panic. Don't lash out. You just reset yourself down, and he did a really good job of that. Say, on the other hand, off camera, she talks about how she's going to get a revenge on these people, specifically Mitch. Camilla and Kyle continue to be a step ahead of everyone else, planning and trying to plant seeds in different places. They're playing a great game. I really like how they're playing. Mary is just really hanging in there. She's not making really big moves or massive waves, but I like how she's playing. I wasn't sure how she would play this season, but I've been really happy to see her play. Cedric, I think he's going to be a really good jury member. I think he's got a good attitude towards being kind of taken out. Really glad to see Say go. And even on the way out, she shows just absolutely zero self-awareness when she declares on her way out in her interview that if she had made it one more week, she would run the tables on everybody. Such little self-awareness. And by the way, I love the intro to the show. Every single time I hear the intro, I immediately think of the theme song from Night the Roxbury. So I got my head bopping. Love the show. Thanks, Joanna and Stacy, and Starter fans. I look forward to hearing the rest of the feedback.
Thanks, Ryan. I was listening for it when we played the intro to the beginning of this episode. I was like, doggone, he's right. It does sound like Night at the Roxbury. It was those are both computer generated, where you could like pick genres, and then there's a bunch of dials that you adjusted, and supposedly this AI had been trained on a bunch of different musical styles and things like that. And this was way back before the blow up of large language models and Chat GPT and all that stuff. This is from years back. And I just like those two, and I've just kind of stuck with them from that perspective. But you're absolutely right. It does have that beat when it goes into the strong melody portion of it right before we come in. Good deal. Thanks, Ryan. Oh, the other thing Ryan was talking about was going in people's bags. And I don't think that we saw Kyle tell David that had happened to him, did we?
We didn't see him tell him, but he knew about it. He pretended that, Kyle tell
David, because Camilla and Kyle were planting the seed that Shahin he may have an idol. He may not be trustworthy. And David and Joe have been harping, and Eva have been harping on honesty and integrity. And then
but it was Kyle's bag that was gone through.
Right.
Initially.
And Kyle was talking to David about what Shahin did. I mean, and specifically Camilla. But do you recall them telling David about the bag search?
Yeah.
Because I don't. Because I think that would be a great thing to tell David. We know Joe knows.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't answer. Why don't you ask a question? We can't answer.
I didn't think so, but Ryan prompted it with what he was saying there about how much he didn't like
fault.
it. No, it's not a fault. It's an interesting idea, an interesting angle that they could potentially leverage against Shahin.
I actually don't remember. Okay, that's something for us to go back and look for.
Like, if David feels strongly like Ryan does that you shouldn't be searching through people's bag, that's just not the honest way to play. True. Then you could leverage what Shahin did.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Good job. Next up, we got an email from Matt and Summer, who are now in Arkansas.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. What an episode. Who could have predicted it? Apparently, a lot of folks, based on the JSFL standings. What was it, 232 or something?
Yeah, that was a lot, wasn't it?
It was 12 minutes into the broadcast when we got into the challenge? It was really fast. I'm not even sure it was that long. Talk about a cold open. In the best sense, not some of the new era cold openings we've seen. Hated to see Mitch in such distress over his predicament with Charity getting voted out. He did excellent damage control post-tribal council and made some really good points, especially with how Say was treating him, even after he pushed towards working with her. And she would be okay with Shahin voting against her, but not Mitch. Huh?
Yeah, double standard much.
Matt said that we were going to see a harder edge to Mitch this episode, and I think we did see that to some extent during Tribal Council. Mitch is our new USB, but new only because Matt didn't enter him as our original USB the first time like he meant to.
Oh, classic. Outing him.
It happens to several people every season. Okay, Cedric's early exit from the challenge was not a surprise based on previous experience, but really, 17 seconds? We were surprised to see Star go so quickly, too. I wonder if that was on purpose.
Seemed like it was.
It looked like it was, yeah. It was truly epic to see the final three standing. Eva did really well, but not much to do between an unstoppable force and an immovable object. How close was David to losing his grip? We kind of think that he called Joe out preemptively to avoid that very thing. And we have definitely learned that biceps are the new pecs, but winners still have great pecs. But doesn't strength actually come from the core? A lot of it does. Outstanding smack talk from everyone during the challenge. We went with a hybrid of our odd person out and Reddit analysis to decide on Chrissy and Kyle as our vote out picks. Good idea until it wasn't. We seriously thought about picking Say and Cedric, but we didn't want to start chasing vote-out points like we've done in the past. Super glad to see Mitch use his block a vote. Too often we see someone in a tight spot play it safe and go home with the advantage, and that turned out to be the difference at Tribal Council and maybe change his trajectory long term.
Perhaps.
Joe and David would do well to make a spot in the anti-meat shield alliance for him. The bad news is that Joe seems to be onto the fact that everyone is talking to Mitch, which is bound to get back to the new Rob Father, Shahin. I like that, Rob Father. Mm-hmm. In any case, it's going to be tough to pick the next vote out. From now on, the other castaways have to make some real cuts to their respective core groups.
That's the heart of it right there.
Yes. Thanks for all you do and look forward to what the other superfans have to say. All right. Thanks, Matt and Summer. Up next, we've got a call from Trish.
Hi, Joanne. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Survivor Group. My name is Trish. I'm from Ashville. First-time listener, first-time caller. I'm brand new to this podcast. My children go or went to Georgia Tech. So I started watching seriously the season Carson was on, and now, of course, Eva. So here are my thoughts for last week's Survivor. Not sure why people are so entranced by Camilla. Maybe it's a little bit of a herd mentality, and I got sucked up into it a little bit myself. But I think that when you're in a two-person alliance, I think that and you're trying as hard as Camilla is. She seems to try hard. She's a little crafty. She's a little bit wily, a little bit too eager. She reminds me a little bit of Maria. Maria trying to get into everybody's good graces and then ultimately betraying Charlie. But I think the persons that hang her lower in the background, Rachel and Kenzie, are two people that I'm thinking of are more successful. And the person that I've got my eye on, that I've have as my USB, is Mitch. He seems to be a strong player all around and really seems to get along with everyone, doesn't have any alliances. I'm a little worried, though, about his feeling a little down last week and his hunger. Anyway, thanks for allowing the feedback. Hope you all have a great week.
Excellent. Good job, Trish. Glad to have you here. And I also am a graduate from Georgia Tech, so as a fellow rambling wreck, I'll offer that welcome too.
All right.
Next up, we got a call from Christiana.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Christiana from Massachusetts calling in with feedback for this week's episode. I've been a little MIA this season because one thing I don't know if I've ever shared on the podcast is I am an elementary school teacher, so I wake up very early and I am very tired at the end of the day, and it's really hard for me to stay up till 9:30 for the 90-minute episodes, so I end up watching it sporadically like throughout the weekend, and then I'm never watching it in time to get my feedback in, especially now that the deadline is on East Coast time and I am also on East Coast time. But this week I actually mustered up the energy to stay awake and watch the episode as it aired. And so I was able to listen to the recap and get in some feedback. I'll just give high-level thoughts. I'm liking the season a lot, although, like I said, for some reason, and it's not that it's not good, it's just not hooking me to want to watch. I've gone like weeks without watching the episodes and then catch up watching a few over a weekend. So it's not just ramping up as much, and maybe it will now that the merge is here. But overall, I like it. It's good. I think the people are good players. I think they're hilarious, like watching them on the bench during the immunity challenge. They just seem like good people, like people you want to hang out with and not just kind of scummy or too self-important. Like I feel like multiple people have said, I'm here, this is a dream, I want to play Survivor, but also it is a game and I'm not taking it that seriously. And I think Say's exit really showed that, of playing hard, and then she saw that she didn't have a vote and she knew she had got, but she left pretty gracefully, which I always appreciate. I think the immunity challenge also was hilarious because, number one, Cedric dropping within like 7 seconds was laughable. Although, great point about maybe he just gave up. He knew he couldn't do it. Why even try? But try just to save face. You know what I mean? Give it a minute or two. Unless I had thought that it slipped out of his hands, and then once it slipped, it was just gone. Maybe it was an intentional drop. I don't know. And Joe just being so serious about it, which if that's what he has to do to keep his head in the game, you do that because that's incredibly hard. Where David and his big muscles didn't even need to be focused because he is so unbelievably strong. And I agree with you, Stacey, that I do think he got in Joe's head, but Joe must have been so irritated because he had said, like, I just want to eat, and he was trying so hard to win the food. And then Cedric, who lasted 7 seconds, gets to win the food. Ugh, adding insult to injury. But like I said, I'm liking the season. I honestly enjoy this Meathead Alliance plus Eva going on. I like those particular people. I really like Kyle. I really like Eva. I mean, just what a great story. Joe seems like a stand-up guy. Although, again, I do agree with you. He definitely has some emotional something or other going on. I wonder if that will come up through the season. I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone else has to say. Glad I could call in. Have a great week. Bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Christiana. So glad you could join us this week. And I understand there is help on the way for teachers. There's some new technology solution called A1 coming to your rescue. It's going to really help you out in the classrooms.
Why are you talking about what that lady calls it?
The DOE? Yeah. Yes. Well, I thought she would get
it. I know that a lot of people.
No, she'll know exactly
what you're talking about.
Christiana will know exactly what I was referring to.
I only know because you told me.
It's because it's so funny. Oh, that's it. A1 is on its way to help you, Christiana.
Okay.
Next up, we got an email from Crystal in Santa Rosa. Hey there, Joanne and Stacy. Super happy that Say and Cedric were finally voted out. Unfortunately, I forgot to go back to the JSFL site and choose a second vote off. I got Say, though, because I just let it ride. You and I'm sure a lot of people. You had Say almost every week of this season, didn't you?
I chose her 5 out of the 7 weeks, yes.
When Say, Joe, and Shahin went for Mitch, I got my hackles up and became Mama Bear with a vengeance. I'm sure a lot of other fans felt the same. Don't mess with Mitch. I think we collectively put a protection circle around him and it worked. All right, is that what we did? I'm with you. The bucket grip challenge was intense. Really hope Gabler watched the episode. I love the Rock Captain America comparison. How many times do you guys think David practiced that pose in the mirror before flying out to Fiji? I think David practices that pose every day.
That he's been doing that since he was a young man.
Yeah, since he started working on his muscles.
Since he was a teenager, probably.
Shahin and Kyle made it even more fun with their commentary and singing from the bench peanut gallery. This cast certainly has a lot of personality and sense of humor. Jeff doing the casting call promo was great timing. I've always thought it would be hilarious if during a camp moment when everyone is agonizing over the conditions or hunger that Jeff would poke his head out of the bushes and say, "Get up off the couch and apply now." The energy between Kyle and Camilla was a bit off to me. Is it overconfidence? I think a little bit of fear goes a long way in keeping it real and humble. I want to see them go far, but now I'm starting to worry. Shahin seems more equipped emotionally to recognize his potential vulnerability and take corrective action, which I hope he does because I don't think this is the last time Kyle will be throwing his name out. Did Chrissy have a double espresso before tribal council? That's great. I like that. I can see it written on her cup. Chrissy. I kept thinking, breathe, girl, breathe, but on and on she went. I think it's been percolating for a while and just had to burst. Mid-season seems too early to declare in front of everyone that the rules of the game are lying and deception, unless she's been developing unwavering relationships that we haven't seen. Let's hope so. Fingers crossed. The bullseye target is clearly on her back. She's dangerous and probably needs to go soon. My USB Mary was a bit quiet this episode, but I'm fine with that for now. I'd love to see her get together with Mitch. That would keep Kyle and Camilla busy. The David preview for next week looked like a red herring to me. Can't wait to see what happens and hear everyone else's thoughts. Thanks, Crystal. There is a little bit of a connection with Mary and Mitch in that extra video.
The one where she's sewing up his pants.
Yeah, she used part of the kit for the merged flag to sew his pants back together for him so he could wear them to tribal.
He really likes her. Actually, I think Mary's playing very hard. She's playing more behind the scenes. with other things.
Where's
just
Mary's-
like sewing everybody's clothes.
Yeah, where's her alliance though? And this is the perfect time. This is where players like Mary get to fold into the background and hide.
We don't really know where the alliances are. That's what we're waiting to
this
find
next
out.
episode. We'll finally get an idea.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
point.
think that's why it's going to be harder to decide for the vote off for the next episode.
Yes,
So,
the difficulty's way up on this next one.
yes.
For that very reason. Thanks again, Crystal. Next up, we got a call from Drew.
Hey, Carolina Stacy. Hey, everyone. This is Drew. So I am technically not in a show right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm throwing the challenge. If you think I'm throwing the side challenge, then you're just one of those people who thinks I am, because I'm not. But I'm pretty sure I got a 4-point week. I can't remember because I think I had second place, but I thought it was going to be Joe, but I did get stay. So anyway, it's not a 3-point week for me. The annoying thing is it could have been a 6-point week, or at least a 5-point week if Stay had gone second, because then I would have got a first on jury bonus. But I'll still take the vote off point because that was, I think it's my first vote off point. So I am not singing in a show right now. Actually, I'm in a show right now, but I'm doing pets. I'm helping backstage. So I do kind of miss performing, but again, that is not my driving motivation here. So I have Adelaide with me here in the car on speaker. We just finished the episode. What did you think about Stay getting voted out, sweetie?
I wanted her to stay.
You wanted her to stay?
Yeah.
What did you like about her? You just liked her? I don't know. Adelaide's been a Stay fan from the beginning. So the rest of us were not sorry. But what we were really anxious about was that second vote, because we're all pretty big on Team Shahin. And that would have been a huge bummer on the first episode after the opportunity to choose a new USB, if you know them. So I thought it was a good episode, didn't you? Did you like the challenge? It was pretty intense watching them like kind of go up and down and up and down. But everyone by the end of it was thinking we need to all start drinking more chocolate milk, because it seemed to really do the trick for both of them, but especially for David. I had like stars in my eyes when he won. I was so happy. Anyway, that's all. Do you have anything else to say? No. She's succinct in her thoughts today. So, well, who do you think is going to get voted out next? David was like about to go crazy. Do you think everyone's going to get really stressed out about that and vote him out next? Do you think they're going to vote?
I think we're going to vote Joe.
Do you have any guesses yet? I think it might be. Chrissy? Okay, that could be. I think it might be, they might want to get out Mitch because he's a real threat to win. So, I don't know. I'll have to look and decide. But everyone have a great weekend. I'm just happy to be getting this in on Friday and have more than a 3-point week. So, talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Drew.
Okay.
Thanks, Adelaide.
You got to quit picking at Drew. You get to it.
I don't totally believe him. I think it's a big cover. You heard him. He was anchoring to sing.
Oh, quit it. Though, we do like hearing him sing.
We do. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanna and Stacy, it's David in Pittsburgh, and I'm very satisfied with the 2 vote-offs at the last 2 tribal councils, which kind of makes me think about how luck works in the game of Survivor. I'm not talking about the kind of luck where you play a hidden immunity idol and it saves you from going home because, yeah, you were lucky you found it, but it is partly good gameplay to play it when you play it. And I'm not talking about the kind of luck when, say, Gabe saved Rachel by sending her out of tribal council where she would have been voted off. I'm talking about the kind of luck where there's just no control over and it just happens to work for you. I'm thinking of Mary's Shot in the Dark, where I think this is only the second time that somebody played the Shot in the Dark and was safe when they were going to be voted out. I think somebody else played it and they were safe, but they weren't going to be voted out. And so that's just complete luck. If she hadn't been lucky, she would no longer be in the game. And it was just luck that Cedric and Say were on opposite teams when they both went to tribal council. If they had both been on one team, who would still be here? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So again, luck played a big part of that. I know that skill plays a lot in this game, but I really think sometimes Lady Luck, if she's not in your corner, nothing you can do to save yourself. And I hate it when a good player goes out because of luck. Didn't happen this time, but I've been thinking about that. When Jeff was explaining the challenge to the players, I turned to my husband and said, Cedric's going to be the first to go because we've seen this challenge before. And I said, he has no upper body strength. Well, I was just done talking. Jeff finished his instructions and Cedric goes out. And Stacy, I'm glad you brought up Charlie practicing for that challenge because I kept trying to think. I knew there was somebody who had done that and had really worked on his grip. So again, what did Cedric do physically to train for Survivor? Because I get he seemed to be a nice guy. He just didn't seem to be a very good player. And yes, Say would have been a difficult jury member. I think she was too volatile to be kept in put on the jury. Anyway, now I'm wondering, is Mitch going to be the next to go? Chrissy, why did you have that big speech at Tribal Council? That kind of puts a target on your back. I'm just not sure where some of the players fit in with this big, strong team holding it together right now. So looking forward to next week. Talk to you then. Bye.
Thanks, David. There's an extra video with Cedric before the challenge after they get the tree mill, and he's talking about, well, this is about willpower, and I got willpower for days. There's a chance I can win this next challenge.
Really?
Yes.
He said that?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, when David
Completely
said,
delusional.
what did Cedric do to prepare? And I went through my mind, absolutely nothing. And then I thought, wait a minute, did he say he took some swimming lessons?
No, I don't recall
No,
that.
did he? I can't remember. I
Star did.
Well, maybe he took some swimming lessons. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, he's a surgeon. He wouldn't have a lot of time to prep.
True.
It just,
Well,
and
we
it's
don't know that, but
it's so funny too. His Ponderosa video is already out there, and in the Ponderosa video, he's like, and you know what? The food and the lack of food and the lack of sleep didn't affect me at all. I wasn't having any trouble.
Okay.
And of course, in his interview, his exit interview, I forget which one it was, but he's basically saying, yeah, I just blanked out. I completely forgot to play my shot in the dark. I was just so out of it.
Huh.
Yeah, so he's in the revisionist mode.
You think, do you really think he thought he might go?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he said from his interviews he knew it was a distinct possibility.
Well, then I don't understand why he didn't play it.
Because sometimes you get in there in the tension of tribal council, you lose all plans, you lose lucid thought.
I lose lucid thought all the time.
Walking from one room to the other, right?
True.
Yeah, me too.
Especially during this allergy season. This has just been horrible. You don't usually suffer the way I do, but even you're having
I always have in
issues.
Georgia. I had huge hay fever issues growing up.
Well, it's been, I've had brain fog all week where I really
More than a
wasn't.
week. Yeah.
Okay, well, see, I don't even remember that. But it seems like forever, actually.
Yep.
But, oh well,
Yeah, the
that's
circumstances out there either were or were not affecting him. Anyway, thanks, David. Good job. Next up, we got an email from Becca in South Carolina.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. Hi, Survivor fans. The challenge was so fun to watch. The castaways kept us laughing, and we loved when the editors got in on the fun, adding the music behind Shahin's perfect tribal chant. David looked like he wasn't doing anything harder than holding on to bicycle handlebars.
That's a great description.
Even as someone who doesn't have a gallon-a-day habit, I would have been bummed about juice being served at the PB&J bar. Milk is the perfect accompaniment. We've been putting...
Chocolate milk with the peanut butter. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that too, yeah. Anyway, we've been putting Say as our vote out pick every week. Less because we think that's how the episode will go, and more because We wish for it to happen. Hello, that's exactly been my reasoning. Well, this week I decided to try a different strategy. We wanted her to go, so I put her as safe.
Oh, thank you.
I knew that
Thanks,
this
Becca.
would practically guarantee that she'd be voted out, and that's exactly what I said last week when I switched it. Okay, she didn't go. I guess you have the touch, not me. Okay, I knew this would practically guarantee she'd be voted out, like taking an umbrella with you to ensure that it won't rain. We were a little concerned when talk centered around Mitch, but overall, rest assured that our strategy was sound. Thank you very much. Caroline is finding it harder now to think about vote outs. She was mad when Joe, a favorite, was entertaining the idea of voting Mitch, another favorite, and was appalled that I put Eva, also a favorite, as a vote out. She also likes Star, Shahin, and Kyle. So we're bound for some disappointments in the weeks ahead. Looking forward to a say-free episode next week.
Nice. Yep. Good stuff. Thanks, Becca. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Parker.
Hey, it's Park from Indiana, and while on paper this is a very predictable episode, just 1-2 punch, get out saying Cedric, I feel like in execution, it was very dynamic, very compelling. The editors just had a field day with this one, which I really enjoyed it, and I usually don't enjoy this double boot, split up the Merge Tribe episode, but this one, out of the last couple seasons, this is definitely my favorite one. I feel like it was just very compelling. First of all, the challenge was great. It was so much fun, and usually I don't like this. I'm not a huge fan of the challenges. I don't really care. I like to know who wins. It's not my favorite part of the episode, but this one was a lot of fun. And when we get a lot of character out of challenges, that's when I really like them. They've gotten kind of away from that because they don't want long challenges anymore. But sometimes long challenges make for better TV. For these votes, I feel like for Orange, I'm so glad they got off Say. And I also had her as my vote off here. I got both right, which never happens in this kind of episode. So that was very exciting. Regardless, I feel like Mitch was the better move because he is much more of a threat. And yeah, he's on the bottom, but he can easily integrate himself with a group of people and get some momentum going because he's much better socially than Say is. And he's much better at challenges. And he's very underrated threat in these challenges. So he's a much bigger threat here. But I'm very happy they went with Say and got her out of there. I just think it might have been a mistake for them. But we'll see. Maybe he could get voted out just next week and it'd be another predictable vote off here. But over on Purple, I'm actually glad that they didn't go for the bigger move to get off Shahin, especially because it really would have blown up Kyle and Camilla's spot being the secret duo here, because to get it to work, they would have had to done a lot of legwork. I think that David would be very suspicious of them, and that just fractures this alliance that they've just gotten themselves into, and which gives them a lot of power here. So I feel like it would put them in a tough spot moving forward if they did go with this move, whereas Cedric keeps them safe. And for now, that's a better scenario for those two. And so I'm glad that they kind of pulled back a little bit and saw that, okay, this isn't going to work. Let's not push it. Let's play it safe for tonight, because that's just a better thing to do in this spot. I also picked Kyle as my new USB. I know, kind of crazy. I gave up the 24 points on Joe to go 10 points on Kyle. We'll see what happens with that, but I just see a better narrative for Kyle, and I like his dynamic, kind of scrappy gameplay here more than Joe's rigid, old, reliable kind of gameplay. I mean, I love Joe. I love them both. Don't get me wrong, but I just see Kyle as more of a winner. But yeah, we'll see what happens next week, but that's all I got. I will see you all next time.
Good job. Thanks, Parker. Next up, we got a call from Shahin.
Hi, JSFL North 5 fans. Hope everyone is well and safe. I thought it was a good episode. I'm not a fan of the concept of splitting them up. Once again, I just feel like there are so many uncontrollables for these players, and just like the journey, and I think we've seen 2 players leave indirectly and maybe one directly because of the journey in the situation that they were put in, and the forced split of the tribes. Yes, I enjoy the fact that it kind of accelerates the game somewhat, because sometimes you need that double vote, but I would have preferred it if we just had a truncated episode where we had the 12 and it naturally went from 12 to 11 and 11 to 10. And I swear we used to have that. I swear there was like an episode in the 20s and 30s where it would go naturally from 12 to 10 or from 10 to 8, whatever number it was, naturally down 2 so that we could get that acceleration. But I feel like this is forced, and what happens is that you can get these unfortunate situations. And to be very honest, when I saw the split for purple, I was really fearful for Shahin. And it wasn't because of what we saw next time on Survivor from the week before, but because of who was there. I thought that Kyle and Camilla had really done a good job of forming that duo. You know, we've all seen it. I had a feeling that there could be something brewing because they knew how strong of a player Shahin was from the time that they'd spent together with him and Joe. So I had big fears. So I was really surprised when they went with Cedric. And I'm just really sorry for Cedric because the game has just really gone past him, unfortunately. He just did not meet the standards of what he should have been. And he probably has so many regrets about how the game went for him. But he unfortunately didn't cut it. And on the other side, Orange, I mean, I'm not surprised. I thought maybe Eva could have been a blindside, but in the end, they just want to say, just couldn't bear her. And then, as classy as she is, you know, she had to leave those parting words. And unfortunately for her, I just don't think that she was a very good player. She was a TV Moments player. She might have had some sort of perception, intelligence, but it just came out too hard. She didn't know how to balance her game. As for next week, I'm just not sure. I've got some really good vibes, though. I think Shahin is unfortunate. I think his edit is starting to diminish a little bit. I think Camilla and Kyle's is doing a really good job in maintaining their edit. I think Mary's getting a really good edit, and I think Star, her edit is just skyrocketing, and Chrissy's too. I think we didn't see a lot of Chrissy, but I think Chrissy is a dark horse. She's orchestrating a lot of these good moves and playing under the radar. So, yeah, great bunch of players left, and can't wait for next week. Thanks for what you do. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Shahin. I seem to recall that it was more common to have 14 episodes a season at one point. I know that was, it was like a big thing last season that we had that extra episode,
yeah, but
two
it's been
finale
13
episodes.
for years and years and years, and it is this time too. So.
Well, he was talking about all the way back to the 20s, and
yeah.
So it seems like there might have been longer seasons back then, and then we dropped one. Of course, they used to take March Madness off. You remember that? And then they would take Thanksgiving off, and you'd get that extra, never-before-seen full of moments that we had already seen.
What Stacy's really saying, Shahin, is that your brain is younger than ours, and we may not remember all the details that far back.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with Shahin. I don't like this breaking it apart again. It just messes with the rhythm. Of course, Probst and company love it because it makes things harder, potentially, I guess. So.
Yep.
Thanks, Shahin. Next up, we got an email from Sammy in Chicago. Hello, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor buddies. Well, shoot, I had Cedric picked to go until the last minute when I realized, what am I doing? Why would they vote him off? Yeah, it seems like you're in good company there. Several people went through that cycle. I underestimated the confusing machinations of the strong alliance, and I lost a save point on the butt doctor to top it all off. Since I had only picked him once before and was trying to play smart, I call that bold, Sammy. Very bold on your part.
Yeah, that usually is a mistake for me every time.
He's made so many big decisions in this game, and it is fitting that he will have a chance to make one more big decision as a member of the jury. I know Say is a polarizing figure, but I will miss her. I think a lot of people will. It's just like Shahin was just talking about, too. She plays so socially bankrupt that it was never a chance that she would win. And she, in her exit interviews, that came home 100x more. So, But yes, she was there for TV moments. Charity said in one of her exit interviews that the emerging Strong Alliance was giving Coach and Brandon's season vibes. I do not foresee this group holding a pre-challenge prayer circle anytime soon, but the season is still young. Yeah, I guess that could happen. I hope not. I hope they don't take it that far. If there is indeed a core strong alliance of David, Eva, and Joe, and they can successfully get the numbers by strengthening bonds with a couple more, such as Shahin and Kyle, especially if Camilla gets voted out as teased in the next time on Survivor, then perhaps the season 48 endgame will resemble that of South Pacific. If that is the case, I can see this season having a Sophie Clark type winner who goes to the end with the annoying macho players and wins handily. In my imagination, this is Mary, but you could also plug in Chrissy or Star. Yeah. The thing is Sophie functioned at an entirely different level.
Yeah, but I don't think you really
She was so many levels above and beyond.
Did you really see that during the season or after you got to know her better?
Well, so there's...
That affected.
It did. And... but to answer your question, you absolutely do get to see it during the season because you see Coach doing some quasi pigeon Russian, but Sophie knows Russian. And so she was like, you could tell she was like levels above where he was. And she saw exactly what was going on, what all the fake religious brouhaha that they were preaching was, and she adapted and slid right into it and managed it the whole time. Yeah, I think you could see a lot of it. But yeah, sure, when I got to meet her in person, I even had more respect for her. That's why I felt so bad for her when she fell when we went on that hike. In the Hollywood Hills.
But at least you could help her.
Yeah. Well, I think other people did. I don't know that it was so much me, but yeah.
Well, you gave her the ride, but anyway. She...
Okay, back to Sammy. But I'm hoping David the Milkman just gets the axe on next week and we can move on. Yeah, that would be something. Stacy, welcome to Team Mitch, and congratulations to you both on finishing your taxes.
Yay!
I've treated myself to several tax cookies as well. Be well. Thanks, Sammy. That was a good one. Next up, we got a call from Johnny.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Johnny from Wisconsin calling. Lucky for me, I didn't have any sunk cost fallacy to weigh out, really, because my USB was Cedric, so that wasn't a question. I ended up going with Mary as my USB, and I like my choice. I think it's so far so good, but she does have trouble with maybe not having Say on the jury. I think Say would have been a shoo-in to vote for her had she made the final three. Maybe that's getting a little ahead of myself, but still, something to think about. And as for the Kyle and Camilla duo, it's interesting. I think since Camilla's playing such a better game so far, I think it's going to be tough for her to really get ahead and survive if somebody wants to target that duo. So she will probably have to try to turn votes on some other folks, on Shahin and Joe and Eva and all of them. Maybe even Mitch and Mary potentially. But I think it's going to be imperative if Kyle wants to win this game that he has to turn on Camilla at some point. Not necessarily on the other side. I think conversely, Camilla can probably stick with Kyle as long as she needs to. She could even bring him to the end. I think that would be a potential winning path for her. But yeah, Kyle, I think it would be really bad if he brought her all the way to the end. Yeah, otherwise I'm pretty much pleased with just about everybody in this game. Yeah, we really don't have much on Star still. She could easily go to the final three herself. Could we even see like one from each Siva, Vula, Lagi? Maybe. Otherwise, excited to see the next episode for sure. And now that we have a 10 all voting together. So looking forward to it. See ya.
Thanks, Johnny. That would be fun.
Yeah, the interesting thing is he was saying people wanting to break up the Camilla Kyle. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows right now.
At least they're not letting on. Say said in her exit interviews that she clocked them, just like from the drop when they all came together, that she was onto them and knew that was happening. But
that's an exit interview, so
right.
You never know exactly if the facts are all accurately stated. So
yeah, she said enough to make you doubt that. But still,
and that is very possible that people have seen it. They're just not ready to show us yet. Yeah, she totally was.
She just didn't have the social game.
She was very good at that. And, sussing things out. Say was always really good at that. And I think she could have been an awesome player if she could have dialed things back, but she just couldn't seem to do that.
And absolutely did not want to. It was funny too that I forget who it was. Someone asked, who she wanted to work with, and She, of course, said she saw something in Shahin, and we got to see that in this last episode. She thought that they could have worked well together, too.
Mm-hmm.
But she also really liked Charity. Charity's favorite of all-time player is Russell Hantz, and that's really who Say plays most like to me. The complete lack of a social game. So somehow she had made some kind of association connection with Charity there. They thought similarly about the game.
I don't agree that Russell had no social game. But anyway, that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it in the votes and the lack of votes at the end. Mm-hmm. That I think that's in the terms of the social game. I think you're doing the same thing that you thought I might have been doing with Sophie. When we met him and were talking to him, we got a totally different version of him. There was a different social Russell than we saw on the show.
Oh, yeah, totally. We get along fine with Russell.
Very aware and empathetic, which you didn't get to see a lot of that in terms of how he approached the game.
Yeah, so that was different. We saw him enough times and interacted with him enough times, then you form more of, not that we have a relationship, but more of a relationship than just watching him on TV. And so, yeah, I do view things a little differently for that.
Good deal. Thanks, Johnny. Next up, we got a call from Justin.
Say it ain't so. Cedric and her had to go. Hey, everyone. It's Justin from Michigan. And I thought this episode was a little bit boring for the result, but it was necessary in driving the game forward. I think everybody left will have impact on the game going forward. We even saw a soundbite from Chrissy at the end of that tribal council where she said, I don't want to play this game of trust and loyalty. I want to backstab. I want to play the game of Survivor. So we can see Chrissy somewhat being an antagonist going forward to this strong group. And even Star and Mary, who we haven't seen much from them, they are going to be numbers for one of those groups, probably the weaker group going forward. So now I think this is where the game really starts. And if I had to critique anything from Say and Cedric for this episode, I would say Cedric should have played a shot in the dark. It sounded like from his exit press, he knew he was 95% sure he was going. Might as well have played a shot in the dark. He said he was mentally and obviously physically exhausted. So I think he was just okay with going home. And Say, her last-ditch effort should have been to target Eva and at least flush that idol. At least if Eva's name is coming up, at least then people have to consider flushing that idol, or Eva and Joe have to consider playing that idol if she knows she's going to get a vote or two. So I would have done that. Because now I think this next episode, I would hope that's part of the discussion, is we should target Joe or Eva, make them play the idol on one or the other, at least from that weaker group. Those should be the targets. All right, get that idol out of there. And so I'm going to have Joe going. I don't know if both of their names are coming up. I'm not sure Joe will let her play it on him in fear that if she plays it on him, then she's actually the target. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with that. So I'm going to have Joe going if he doesn't win immunity. And I'm really happy that Camilla is my USB 24. I think she's really going to be a difference maker going forward. So looking forward to what everyone else has to say. Have a good day.
Thanks, Justin.
You bet. She's a good one to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, be fun cheering for her. And she's going to be on the... Sounds like she's going to be on the hot seat this coming week, too, so it's going to get exciting. Next up, we got an email from Thomas in Toronto.
Well, that was a fairly good episode for the post-merge double tribal council. I'm glad that Say didn't make it to the jury because I couldn't imagine what she would have been like on the jury. And would Jeff have had to remind her constantly that they can't interact with the players anymore?
Probably.
Also, I think Cedric being on the jury will be a good voice of reason for everyone who comes after them. Here's hoping that the rest of the season is as good. All right, thanks, Thomas. Up next, we have a call from Jill.
Hi, Joe and Stacey. Hi, Survivor fans. Jill in the Outback here. I thought it was pretty predictable that both Say and Cedric would go, but I thought it was still a good episode. I like that they realised that they shouldn't let Say on the jury, that she had to go. I'm sure that they could see that she was going to be a little bit unpredictable in how she would vote, so she had to say goodbye to it all. And I thought she handled it pretty well. she almost changed into a different person. She had a beautiful smile and said good luck to everyone, and off she went. I think the say that we saw play the game might have been a little bit salty about it, or Cedric was probably pretty predictable vote off on that second tribe. He just hadn't made the connections with anyone else on that side. So, yeah, he didn't really have much of a chance there. And him ducking out of that challenge so early, that didn't bother me either. If he knew that he didn't have the strength to match it with those bigger fellas, and that he was going to possibly damage his hands, which are quite important, yeah, I can see why he ducked out at that challenge. David's ego got in the way of him there. He just made it look too easy, and I'm sure that people are going to notice that, and they're going to want to vote him out sooner rather than later. If he can make that look so easy, then what else is he going to be able to do? Shahin made me laugh doing his music in the background. That was fun. Isn't his beard amazing? It's just so dark that it's more like an absence of light, and it's only when he opens his mouth that you sort of think, oh wow, there's something else going on there. Chrissy might have put a little bit of a target on her back, saying with Mitch and Joe there that playing the game with honour and all that isn't going to work. I don't know why she would point that out in front of those blokes. And I do worry about Mitch a little bit. He's a little bit emotional maybe, which isn't a bad thing, but he might have put too much stock in his relationship with Charity, and he seems to be having a little bit of trouble moving on from that and finding a new alliance for himself. No idea where near this is going. I like Joe, I like Star, Kyle and Camilla, I like them, and their relationship is interesting if they can keep it under the radar like they're hoping. And I do wonder if all the other players don't notice that. It seems like a pretty tricky thing to hide. It's probably all I've got this week, guys. Happy days, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Jill. It does seem
the birds were
in the background. Yeah.
Yes, I love the birds.
Yep. She gets good bird sound, good bird song there in the background. Yeah, I don't know how they're keeping it so secret either, but it hasn't been a problem, but maybe we're going to get some more insight into that this week. If David is targeting her, maybe he's picking up on that, or somebody is and brought it to his attention.
And I'm really curious about who else is she talking to? Who else thinks she's with them, or somebody that they want to work with, or how do they view her? I really don't know.
Yeah, we don't get a lot on her or Star or Mary in that sense, for sure. Looking forward to more details on them. Thanks, Jill. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
Hello, Joanna and Stacy. Hello, Survivor friends. Jeremiah here with some feedback for this week's episode. Another episode that I thought was pretty good, solid. You know, I've said this many times, but I'm just not a big fan of them splitting them up in two groups right after the merge, and I know I'm not alone on this. I have to admit, I was pretty impressed with Joe and David's performance in that endurance. Wow, that was really impressive. Great advertisement for milk, right? Does the body good, huh? Maybe these two can get an endorsement. Now, I did not do nearly as well in JSFL as I wanted. I did get 4 points, almost lost a save point because I also had Mitch safe. But yeah, I was really set on this narrative that we were going to get a big-time player out, that they were going to take this opportunity with them splitting into two groups to take someone big out of the game. I kind of thought Shahin was possibly going up. I was going down the direction of potentially this Kyle and Camilla alliance getting exposed and one of them going home, but obviously that didn't happen. Boy, those two are really good at this game, aren't they? But did they make a mistake by not pushing harder to get Shahin out? That is the question I have for you guys. Because I'm worried that they spent so much time setting up this narrative and don't get him out. What if this gets back to Shahin? This could be bad for them. But in the end, they wind up going with the boring votes for the most part, or more predictable votes, let's put it that way. Ooh, Mitch, by the way, he dodged a bullet, it looks like. Not much to say for Cedric. Seems like a really nice guy, but I don't know if he should have been on Survivor. Just don't think he was cut out for it. Now, Say, on the other hand, definitely going to miss her. I know a lot of people are glad that she's gone. I know my wife will be glad that she's gone. But for me, I like watching people like her. She kind of was kind of a villain, mainly because her social game is so bad. But even though she's not really that great at the game, but she sure is entertaining. At least for me, she was. So I will definitely miss her, but I understand why she went out. I do wonder if she was part of the second group that was going to make the jury. I wonder if they would have maybe not gone that direction. because honestly, I don't think she's a threat to win because who's going to give her the money? At this point, though, I am very concerned that maybe the second half of the season might be a boring one because this first half's been pretty good. And I just wonder if we're going to get like a really cookie cutter, like this group of five takes everybody to the end. That's what I'm kind of really worried about. But I could be wrong, and I know you all will probably think I'm crazy, but I do see a world where potentially Joe might win this thing. I wasn't kidding. I did consider picking him for my USB. Now, I understand the reasons for not to pick him, because early on we've been getting this story of him be willing to give up his game for someone else, which is not a good sign of a good player, but I almost did. But I'm glad I went with Shahin. I think he'll be fun to root for. It's between him, Camila, or Kyle, and I think I made the right choice. I'm excited about rooting for him. And as far as next week concerned, I do think we're going to pretty standard vote. The David stuff I think is a red herring. I think we're probably either going to get Chrissy after she opened up her mouth at Tribal Council, or probably Mitch. It'll probably be Mitch, and that's who I'm probably going to go with. All right, well, that's it for me. Till next time, this is Jeremiah from Southern California.
Thanks, Jeremiah. He asked us early on if we thought that Camilla and Kyle should have pushed harder to go after Shahin, and I thought they should have too if they were going to open that door, but they left us kind of hanging with what exactly, how David perceived that. And I think the next time on Survivor could actually be connected. He could be targeting Camilla because David goes and asks Shahin. Shahin says, "Oh, that never happened. I don't have an idol. I would have told you, brother, if I had an idol. We're in an alliance together." And now David turns on Camilla. It could play out that way.
It's possible.
Is that it? Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Honey, you know I can come up with 100 scenarios in my head, so, you know.
Next up, we got an email from Josh the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, what a fantastic episode. The cast is finally rounding into form as their numbers dwindle. My other observations. The merged tribe's name means milk. They're going to milk this theme until the cows come home. Yeah, we might even hear that. Sunrise on the merged beach featured a purple sky. Lagi was the purple beach. So yeah, after 26 days of growth, Shahin's beard may rival NBA player James Harden's. Oh, it definitely is approaching that, isn't it? Mitch will bring Survivor challenges to his PE classes. His principal won't like having mud in his gym. When Joe's intense, he has resting Doberman face. That's a great description of that. Say appreciates the direct approach. The tribe directed her to Ponderosa. Cedric didn't fail miserably in the challenge. He decided to preserve his surgeon's hands. Eva lasted a long time in the challenge. It must take a lot of grip strength to use a hockey stick. Shahin's tribal chant sounded like Fozzie Bear's Waka Waka. Okay. Yeah, sure. That or Cookie
Fozzie
Monster.
Bear?
Did I not say it right?
But no, who is Fozzie Bears? What I'm asking.
On the Muppet Show.
Muppets, yes, okay.
He would be the one that would do the introductions. Waka Waka
Yeah,
Waka.
okay.
Yeah, Cookie Monster could fit in there too. David's performance in the challenge proved that milk, it does a body good. Cedric gumped his way through the season. I guess casting is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Although, if you listen to Probst in the On Fire podcast, he pretty much describes how Cedric is going to play with his notes, his initial notes from talking to him. But I'm not sure how well he will do in the game. I'm not sure how he will manage failure. So they were tracking Cedric's performance correctly from his first interview with Probst, I think. I do like that Cedric gumped his way through the season. Joanne's long nightmare is over. The constant flow of butt jokes has come to an end.
Not yet.
Instead of nah, hey, just say sayonara.
Just say sayonara.
Yeah, sayonara.
Or sayonara.
Good job. You got one more say in there, or sigh. Body by Jeff will never replace CrossFit. Was David posing for Fitness Magazine photo shoots during the challenge? Possibly. They can easily Photoshop out those extra nipples. The tribe would have preferred eating 25% of their body weight instead of holding it. Just like at the box office, Captain America beat The Rock / Black Adam. Indeed. Did anyone else notice that Say's swear words were food? This time it was peanut butter. I don't know why the losers were upset about going to Siva Beach. It could have been Vula, indeed. Kyle and Camilla's nickname should be the Guyana Girl Alliance.
Guy and a girl.
Oh, Guy and a girl.
Like Blake Shelton.
Oh, that doesn't mean anything to me.
A girl, guy and
but they have
like
the
that.
history of being from Guyana.
I know.
Guy and a Girl Alliance there.
Oh,
I read it right.
Guyana. Yeah, I went somewhere else though.
Yep, I think yours was probably right.
No,
it's weird
Guyana is right.
It's weird that Star stopped being purple when she moved to the purple beach. Yeah. Say may have butted heads with lots of people, but nobody wanted to use her as a goat. Mailman Mitch, wasn't that a character on Pee-wee's Playhouse? It could have been, yeah. Say's ready to tango, ready to go. She was half right. Cedric saw great gameplay around him. The others couldn't say the same. For her pre-jury trip, the tribe sent her to Saigon. Or did you want me to actually say
Saigon?
Saigon there. David's necklace makes him feel like he's safe and has power. New name for the necklace? Safety without power?
With power.
Oh, safety with power? There. It's amazing how much nicer Say seemed once she got voted out. Yeah, she wasn't like that in the exit interviews, though. She was running people down in a veiled way. Everyone's heard of trust but verify. I don't think you want to try that with a Survivor trust fall.
Oh,
Surgeon Cedric is the mayor of Ponderosa. Vote-offs will be required to scrub before entering. Next time, David's losing his mind. Chrissy's hunting snakes. This guy's the biggest idiot on the beach, and David tells Kyle that is the move. To Ponderosa? Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanne and Stacy, for all you do. Can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks, Josh. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Jen.
Hi, everyone. This is Jen in California. And here are my thoughts on Survivor 48, Episode 7. Back at camp, I thought it was so sad that Cedric asks Mitch to make him feel better, and Mitch just can't. He's having such a hard time himself. You could just see that he had no energy left for anyone else. And he was left to apologize to Say yet again for voting for her. The poor guy just cannot catch a break and get out from the bottom. And I gotta hand it to him because he took the initiative and he really made the effort to make new connections. And I liked his strategy, which is the way to build allies is to build personal connections based on bonding over past life experiences. Very good, but that raised a red flag for Joe. He just hears how nice Mitch is, and he's all of a sudden suspicious of him, thinking if he takes him to the end that Mitch might have a chance to beat him, which he's probably right. I did not like Shahin's little monologues on how in control he is, because the Survivor gods like nothing more than to knock off anyone who's showing just a little bit of confidence in that way. And regarding Shahin, I was more than a little bit uncomfortable this episode because I chose him as my new USB, and I thought that I was most certainly going to lose my new USB right away. I really don't like when they merge tribes and then immediately split them apart for immunity challenges and to vote. At this point in the game, I want to see large voting numbers, not small voting numbers. But having said that, this immunity challenge was so exciting to watch. A record was set, and it was just great. Joe and David performed amazingly. But David had this in the bag from the start, and I don't think Joe was really any match for him. That was just a really dominant performance. So after the immunity challenge, when Joe was lamenting going back to the old Siva camp and saying that he was disappointed because they didn't have flint or a machete or a pot, I immediately thought, Joe, why do you need a flint or a machete or a pot when you're only going there for a few hours? You're only going to be there for a few hours. And it was here when I started to worry a little bit more about Shahin. I was not happy that his name was being thrown out as a decoy vote. That never bodes well. You want to avoid for as long as possible your name being the decoy name. And on the old Siva Beach tribal negotiations, is it just me or is Joe always looking like he's going to cry? Other than that, I think we should just jump forward to tribal council because I was getting the beaches incredibly confused as I was watching, and I'll probably just get confused if I sit here trying to make an opinion on them now. So tribal number 1, Chrissy's hair looks so clean, and so does Eva's for that matter. They don't have shampoo out there, do they? Dry shampoo in a little box somewhere? I feel like Chrissy tipped her hand and showed her cards a little bit too much, but finally Say is gone and before the jury too, which I think was very wise. Tribal number 2, I really thought Shahin was going to be gone. I actually stopped my playback on the TV and pre-wrote my disappointed comments. But Shahin didn't go home and I had to delete them all, and Cedric went home, and guess what? I got full points. I have never gotten a first on jury vote right. I think this is a first. Feeling happy. Anyway, that's it for me. Can't wait to hear everyone else's thoughts. Till next week.
Celebrate good times. Thanks, Jen. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here. Honestly, I loved the episode, and I think we have a pretty good season going down here. Hopefully, this new era of Survivor is taking a turn for the better, because I do honestly believe that the new shortened seasons have been pretty altogether. I mean, I've still enjoyed watching, but it has definitely taken a huge upswing with the last season, and then this season is running pretty strong for me as well, so yeah, I honestly didn't expect it. Anyway, I loved the challenge, and as soon as it began, I said to Taz, who do you think will drop out first? I think it'll... And then Cedric was out before I could even say his name. Did he just throw in the towel? I don't know, but at this point in time, I think that he was actually trying, but let's face it, Survivor's just not his game. Lordy, though, I hope he doesn't try out for Squid Games, because he'd be out at the first red light. And do you think perhaps Star dropped out so quickly so she could run on over and give Cedric another pep talk? At any rate, I am happy that he made it to the jury instead of Say for, well, reasons that we don't need to get into here. And then there was Eva, who was making that grip challenge look downright easy. No stress or strain whatsoever, laughing and having a grand old time. Of course, she was next to Joe, so that helped. But yeah, she ended up struggling at the end and didn't win the challenge, which I didn't actually expect her to. But she lasted an incredibly respectable amount of time out there, which puts another target on her back though. And all in all, I've got to say that was possibly the oddest and possibly the most fun challenge that I think I've ever watched. From all of the milk and posing business right down to Shahin cracking me up by providing a tribal soundtrack for the challenge, and even having Jeff tell him that it was pretty good. Well, it all just worked for me, and everyone seemed to be having fun. Sadly, Joe and Dave didn't just win immunity, they also won the, shall we call it the Bonus Deferred Target Award, which people will surely remember, and honestly, I'm fine with either of them going. Say what you will, but I think it's inevitable. There's just something about the two of them that rubs me the wrong way, even though I'm pretty sure I'm a loner in having this negative feeling about Joe. He's like nails on a chalkboard to me. I can't figure it out, but I just can't shake it either. I do love Mitch, though. That guy is top-notch. And did anyone else notice how much sand was on the cap of Say's water bottle when she recapped it at one point? Boston Rob likes crispy rice, and apparently Say likes gritty water. And with that brought up, I've got to say that I couldn't finish the Say interview that I found online. She just came across so badly and acted juvenile throughout most of it, but her picture looked nice, proving once again that you can't judge a book by its cover. And I only got 4 points this week because I foolishly picked Cedric as safe. But you know what? I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all, because while the votes were being cast, I was sure that my USB Shahin was going to go. When he survived, I stood up and cheered, even though I lost a safe point. And for the record, I did have Shahin to go because I did want to get something off of him before he exited. But things change, and as for next to go, I'm leaning towards Joe or David, and although I'm trying not to let the previews influence me, I think I'm going to pick David. And I guess that's it for me. Now, if you excuse me, I got some milk to drink. Bye.
Thanks, Paul. I've been thinking about chocolate milk, too. Probably going to have to get some before the season's over. We did drink it. A lot of us would drink it after we were training for triathlons. It was the big thing for a while.
Well, you went for a walk this morning, so you could have had chocolate milk after.
Yeah, not quite the same level of exertion.
No, not even close. But hey.
So, what do you think? Is the Strong Alliance going to face their first challenge, or are they going to pick off and establish their dominance. Pick off someone like Mitch or Chrissy to start getting a lock on it. Because they'll have the majority then at 9, right? With the 5.
Yeah, I think something's going to happen that's going to put a more clear, a couple of clear targets at least.
Yeah.
I could see it going a lot of different directions. That's why it's hard for me to settle on one, because there's so many ways that it could go. And they showed us Chrissy stepping up like that and saying all this stuff for a reason. So that could affect who she has the opportunity to work with. Because if I wanted someone to work with, I don't think I would be aligned with someone who's going to throw that kind of stuff out there, regardless of what we were thinking. Don't share it in tribal council.
Well, it depends on how you feel about the strong, high integrity, honest game playing alliance.
Yes.
If you think if that resonates with you, then okay, then you hold with them or try to get on that train with them.
But here's the thing. You only have the chance to be 4th place or less if you jump on the train with David, Eva, and Joe, right? Unless David would turn on them, but then that's not his honesty, integrity.
Right. Well, that's why that pitch just doesn't work.
Yeah. It's like, well, but wait a minute. There's the 3 of you are already tight. So I'm not playing for 4th.
Oh, you're saying you don't think there's any reason to try to join the strong alliance?
Well, it depends on who. They're not just David, Eva, and Joe. They're including Shahin and Kyle, but even with Shahin and Kyle, I still think David, Eva, and Joe are tight together, but I don't know that. Maybe David feels closer to Kyle, or David feels closer to Shahin. So this is just my perception of feeling like those 3 are the ones that are pushing the honesty and integrity thing. And certainly Shahin and Kyle are not.
Right.
So that's not their goal at all.
Works as cover for them.
They're just hiding behind that. They're not on board with that at all. And I truly don't know if anybody else is. I mean, Mitch could get on board. I mean, he's a nice guy, so Star could, but I really think Mary's just going to go wherever looks like the best spot for her. That's where she's headed.
Yeah, and we've seen her talking to Joe. She's been working on making a connection there, and she's clearly made a connection with David.
Well, I think she's making a connection with everyone. She's just being more subtle about it than
so
some.
That she's got options. Yeah.
Yes, I think she's opening the doors and leaving them all open. I do. So
what I want that underdog alliance to form against the strong alliance.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they can bring it together in the course of 2 days.
Well, and
to take control.
Okay, who are you considering as the weaker alliance?
Chrissy, Star, Mitch, Camilla, and I think Kyle's in that too. We're going to see the original old Siva people talking together.
Where's Mary? Finish your thought.
I don't know about Mary. I don't. You want to bring her in, but I don't know. Given that she seemed to be crushing on David earlier. And, you want to flush the idol like we've been talking about, everybody's been talking about. You want to flush it, and you want to see one of those big physical threats go.
But you only listed 4 people. You only listed Camilla, Chrissy, Star, and Mitch. Maybe Mitch.
Kyle's in that too. Mitch is definitely in that.
Yeah, but Kyle's also in the Strong Alliance.
Right, as cover, as long as it works for him. But this would be the time when they could move forward and take control.
Other people don't know that. They see him as the Strong Alliance. is what I'm saying. So
Sure,
they may not
David and
approach
Joe
him.
think that for sure. I mean, he and David have been together from the beginning. So, yeah, I think he's probably got David fooled on that. Still, as Charity pointed out, David's probably not the most perceptive player. So I think Kyle's hiding that from David just fine.
Well, all the girls that were on the tribe with David before the merge all seem to really, really like him.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not that. I don't know that they've shown us a lot more of that since they've split up and merged.
Mm-hmm.
And the tribes were split up. So I don't know how that's going to pan out either. If they get wind, do they care enough about him to tell him? I just don't know yet how all that's going to pan out.
There's a distinct chance the Strong Alliance will survive this next vote, and then they become the majority alliance. Then it's really hard to make a change. That's why it's so critical in this next, let's say, 2-day cycle to take one of them out and ideally flush the idol too. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's a good point, because all they need is one more of the so-called. But if they go after Camilla, then Kyle's got a dilemma. Do I throw her under the bus and say, okay, I'll stay a part of this alliance, but how does that serve him if he doesn't feel that he's got the majority in that 5-person alliance?
Right. He needs his buddy Camilla to help tear that thing apart. Send them to the jury.
Yeah, but not if she's on the bottom and they're going to keep targeting her. That doesn't work for her.
Well, you can change that story with one vote.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Or Kyle would have to know that, but he doesn't trust Shahin. So, and I don't think Joe's going to exclude Eva until it absolutely comes down to the majority votes are off, with or without him, probably without him. So, but there's a lot of ways it could go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who I'm going with for next week, so.
Joe, David. I want you to think David.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Joe. Flush Eva's idol and Joe goes. I'm leaning that direction. Hey, we want to say a big thank you to everybody who took time to send in your thoughts and predictions this week. We do appreciate it, and we understand that takes a certain amount of work to do. So thank you so much for taking your time out of your extremely busy schedules to share your thoughts with all the other super fans.
And if you're playing in JSFL, remember to make your Week 8 picks for one person voted off and 4 people who you think will still be in the game at the end of the episode.
Speaking of JSFL, let's get that update.
All right. We have 2 people tied in first place with 34 points. 11 people lost their USB for Say, and 7 people lost their USB for Cedric. 21 people lost a safe point for Say, and 88 for Cedric. 223 people earned a vote-off point for Say, and 88 people earned 2 points for Cedric.
First on jury
First on
bonus.
jury. All right, the side challengers, congratulations to Lisa Ray. She is in first place with 32 points. Good job, Lisa Ray. With 30 points, we have Parker, Robert, and Stacy. 28 points, Anderson, Jeremiah, Johnny, and Rebecca. With 27 points, Justin. 24 points, Drew.
All right.
And we updated the who's in first, how many people now have their USB have changed or added or left them the same. So here's the
Let's
stats.
get an update on the USBs after people had a chance to choose a new
You
USB.
clarifying my rambling?
Yeah, that was quite rambling.
Well, we know how my brain is right
Yes.
now. It's the
So
brain
how did the
fog,
USB standings adjust?
Okay, Shahin is still in first. He had 58 points, now at 61.
58 people had chosen Shahin, and it went up to 61. You said he had 58 points.
How about you read them? Because
Kyle now, 45 people chose Kyle. He was previously at 31. Camilla went up dramatically from 12 to 43 people choosing Camilla as their USB. Understand
that's
that.
a big jump.
Joe increased Also from 34 to 42. We saw Mitch go up from 12 to 28. Mary was previously 11 people had chosen Mary to win. Now there's 21 people. Eva was at 12, and we saw that increase by 3 up to 15. Star was at 8. 3 more people for a total of 11 now have chosen Star to win. Cedric went down to 7. 19 people had chosen him to win. And David went down from 8 to 6. And Chrissy went down from 6 to 3. So there's still 3 holding on for Chrissy to win.
All right. Thank you. That's easier for you to do it than for me to try to figure it out with a foggy brain.
But you wrote it.
I know I wrote it.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to the next 90-minute episode on Wednesday. We'll be back with our recap then.
All right, everybody have a good rest of your weekend.